Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to a chill Q&A/AMA stream. We're going to be answering questions today. So if you go to vox.coding.garden, you can ask questions using chat commands. There are already a few questions here. That's great. But ! ask in the chat with your question, and it'll show up here. And I'm going to do my best to answer it. I'm calling this a chill stream because we're going to work on some other things. There is the Coding Garden frequently asked questions that hasn't been updated in 2 years. So we're going to spend some time updating this because, I mean, not much has changed, but there are certain things in here that need some updating. So we're going to update that. And later on, I guess depending on how many questions get asked and stuff, if we have time, we'll do some Clash of coding game, because we haven't done that in a very long time. And I mean, I haven't done code katas in a very long time. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't done in a long time that we should probably do, so that'll be fun. But welcome in, everyone. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for the supports. We got Bladbeat with the 7 months, Sound of Gaming with the 13 months, Excavator with the 16 months, who says, "What have you been up to?" I've mostly been working on my my Homelab, home automation, self-hosting stuff. Yeah, I'll talk more about that later. Nessie, thank you for the 17 months. Pseudocoop with the 12. Namaste Geek with the 9. The Shebots with the gift to Crafty Becky. I actually met Crafty Becky in person at a meetup here in Denver. So thank you, the Shebots, for the support. Forknath with the Prime. Ashley B with the 9 months. And Jim McDonald with the 22 months. Thank you all for being here. The Shebots with the 21 months. Thank you for the supports. I appreciate you. Cool. Yeah. You can all join me in playing the drop game. !drop me. That'll drop your avatar from the sky. And you can play this game throughout the stream. If it lands here, you'll get your name in the garden. You've been working on Kubernetes. Oh. Have I used Apache Guacamole at all? No. It sounds like you made that up. But no, I've never heard of Apache Guacamole. But yeah, I'm not using Kubernetes or anything like that in my Homelab. I'm really just what do I have so far? I mean, I guess that'll be the first thing I talk about. 24-hour stream. Why you just say that out of nowhere, the Shebas? Do I not look tired? I mean, I guess I look pretty rested. I am pretty rested, but I think in general, in my life in general, I'm tired. But I don't know. A 24-hour stream would be fun. It can be a lot more chill than things normally are. It's a web RDP thing. Interesting. But all right, let's talk about my Homelab. If you can call it that. Where do I start? Yeah, I'm glad I got to meet you, Crafty Becky. We didn't get to talk much, but it was nice to. I think I've had other people come up to me to say like they know who I am, but you're the first person I think that like I did not know at all, because some people like I kind of knew from the Denver area, so it was cool. It was cool for you to say hi to me. I appreciate it, and thank you, D3Web. Let's talk about my Homelab, and I'm gonna take notes on it. New file, README. First of all, what is a Homelab? A Homelab is basically just having servers in your home. Is there a Wikipedia on it? Homelab. ! Support should get you to the stickers, I think. Usually. Coding.garden/merch. There's a bunch of... That's not it. Coding.garden/support. There it is. That's the one. There's links to stickers and stuff like that. I guess there's no Wikipedia page on Homelab. And Jed, thank you for the 22 months. But essentially, it's like having servers in your home. There is a subreddit, r/Homelab, where people talk about this kind of stuff. And And the question you might be asking is, why would you want a server in your home? And for a multitude of things. Some of the reasons I'm doing it are for home automation. You technically don't need a server to do home automation. You could buy like a hub from some company and buy all their specific devices. I mean, the one that comes to mind is like Ring, because I know Ring does doorbells, but they also have like other smart home devices, and you technically could get those. But they're all tied back to the Ring Corporation, whoever that is, whoever owns Ring. And so by setting up my own servers, I can actually have a fully self-hosted, not on some corporation's servers, home automation network. And basically I can have things like lights that are controlled, or plugs and switches, and cameras that don't reach out over the internet, and they're only here on my home network. And the thing that I use for that, or I'm using for that, is Home Assistant. Home Assistant. Amazon owns Ring? Yeah, there you go. I mean, Amazon's fine, but having all of the smart things in your home reaching out over the internet doesn't seem like the best idea to me. So I want it all to be like internal to my house and basically have zero internet access at all. So Home Assistant is really cool. It's a completely open source project, and they have all kinds of like plugins for integrating with various home automation things. And so I have a server with a virtual machine that's running Home Assistant. And so yeah, there's that. But before all of this is a firewall appliance, because you might think, and yeah, that's a good question, Krub. Do home labs need powerful hardware? They don't. There's a ton of YouTube videos on people talking about home labs and stuff like that, but my home lab literally just started with some old laptops and some Raspberry Pis. Like you can have a home lab that's basically just a tiny little computer or an old laptop that you put Linux on. I did get a pretty beefy server that I'll talk about, but ultimately, okay, yeah, so I have all this stuff running in my home, and some of it might need to be accessed from outside my home. Like if I want to look at my security cameras while I'm away, I need to be able to reach back into my home, which means there's going to be some openings in my network to get back into my home. And that's why one of the first things, so I started setting up a server with like Home Assistant and stuff like that, and then I was like, I can't just expose this thing to the internet. I need a firewall. So I actually, and so yeah, I mean, you could set up a VPN where if you want to access it, you basically connect to the VPN on your phone, which puts you onto your home network and you can access that stuff. I actually haven't exposed my stuff to the internet yet because I'm still like working out the firewall piece. But I actually set up a firewall appliance. And let's search on Amazon for what I got. If you just search for like Linux router, you'll see some things that look like I don't see any of them. What if I search for Linux firewall? Things that look like this. So these are essentially little computers. You can put pretty much any operating system on them. They have like Intel CPUs, but they have a bunch of extra RJ45 ports on them. So you can basically set it up like a router. I actually found one for a really decent price. It's like OPNPN. I forget what it's called. VNOPN. This is the one. And actually, I paid way less than this. So the price went up. I paid about $250 for it, which, like, in the grand scheme of things, is like a lot more than you would pay just for like a normal router. But what's cool is you can put whatever operating system you want on it. And like Flipstar is mentioning, OpenSense is a completely open source firewall. Yeah. So this is the appliance that I bought, and then I started to set it up with, first off, I was looking into pfSense, because if you start looking into open source firewalls, pfSense is one of the most popular ones. And so I played around with pfSense in a virtual machine, and then I started looking into it, and there's like a whole thing between like pfSense and OpenSense. OpenSense actually forked from pfSense. They're very open source on the scale of open source. They're very open source, whereas pfSense, and I don't want to get into the politics of it, but like they're technically open source, but like the source code, I don't know if it is actually hosted anywhere public. You have to contact them to get access to the source code, and then there's also proprietary build tools they have that are not open source that you need if you wanted to build this thing from scratch. Regardless, I went with OpenSense. It's pretty cool. You can basically set up all kinds of firewall rules, and a firewall by default will block all external traffic from coming into the network. So it's really interesting to see once you set one of these up. I mean, so I don't know if I'm somehow being targeted, but every minute of every day there are so many scans of my network. And I can see it. I can see the traffic on my firewall. Like there's requests coming in from Russia and some from Vietnam and various other places, and they're being blocked by my firewall. And you can see their attempts like on port 22 or various other ports and stuff like that. Yeah, so last week I didn't have it hooked up quite right, and so that's why the stream dropped at the beginning. But now it seems like we're good to go. I haven't dropped any frames or anything like that. Cool. Quad core seems pretty overkill for a Homelab firewall. So there's a lot you need to take into account when you're going to be dealing, or when you're going to be setting up a firewall appliance. But the issue is that firewall is the gateway to all of the devices on my home network. So literally every single packet that leaves my home goes through this firewall. So whether it's my streaming computer or my laptop or my mobile phones or my partner's laptops or mobile phones or anything else like that, all of that traffic has to go through the firewall. So I wanted it to be somewhat beefy, because if it's not, that's like a single point of failure for my entire network. Yeah. And yeah, so I don't think it's targeted at me, Aura, because a lot of these IP addresses I'm looking into, and there are various companies that like just do scans of the internet as a whole, like Shodan, and there's one other one like Cybernet and a few other ones. But yeah, so I wanted this firewall appliance thing to be fairly beefy, and this is the one that I got. There are other ones. This was a decently priced one that I went with, and then I put OpenSense on it. And then so this firewall appliance is connected to my CenturyLink ONT, optical network terminal. So I laugh because I had let me tell you about internets. So what is an ONT? So my internet went down a while back, and then I had to have a person come out and fix it. And when I was talking to my internet provider over the phone, I was like, yeah, the fiber modem isn't connected. I can see the light is red. It said it doesn't have internet. And he's like, well, technically it's not a modem. It's an ONT. So you got to call it an ONT. So it's not a modem. It's an optical network terminal. That takes the fiber wire and turns it into something that we can actually get internet from. And so my firewall appliance is plugged in directly to my ONT. And it actually works through a protocol called a PPP-oE. So my firewall actually requires the username and password credentials for my fiber internet network. So the firewall appliance is configured with PPP-oE to talk to the fiber ONT. And so the reason I mention all of this is because specifically PPPoE actually does, it takes up an entire CPU core. And I have gigabit fiber. If I didn't have a fast enough firewall appliance, I actually wouldn't be able to get my full 1 gig speeds from the fiber ONT. And there's a bunch of stuff I had to look into for like configuring OpenSense with PPPoE to get it to perform optimally. Protectly is actually a company that makes other firewall appliances, but they had this pretty good article that I followed to make sure I had it all set up right and stuff like that. I don't know. I spent a ton of time working on that firewall. And then I'll talk about this more at some other point because I do want to answer people's questions today. But the other thing that I built was just a home server. And this is actually a Dell Optiplex. Is that the right thing? Workstation. Yeah, something like this. So that's another interesting thing, because if you remember a while back, I was looking into like rack mount servers that I could put in my home. So if you search Amazon for like a PowerEdge R730, you're going to see servers that look like this, but you're going to find some of them for like a fairly decent price. Let's look at the Dell PowerEdge. Yeah, so like you could find a server for like under $1,000, or some even for like $500 that are fairly powerful. Like some of them have 2 Xeon CPUs. This one specifically has 128 gigs of RAM, and it's only $430. So I was looking into something like this, but the thing about a server like this is it is extremely loud. It's full of fans. It's meant to be in a data center. And so if you put that in a home, when it starts up, it sounds like a jet engine. And so I was looking at people's YouTube videos of them powering these things up, and it was just way too loud. So what I ended up going with was a Dell Optiplex workstation. Yeah, and so I do have Docker running on the Homelab. I'll talk a little bit about like that. Yeah, you could heat your house with it. Exactly. Because it gets really hot, so it needs the fans. So this is what I found. So I started... In order to find this, I started to look into used computers that had at least 128 gigabytes of RAM because I wanted a machine, big machine, lots of RAM, lots of CPUs. And the reason I want all of that is because I want to be able to run a bunch of different virtual machines on it. So this is one big beefy machine that I'm running a hypervisor on. And a hypervisor is a virtual machine operating system. So you might have heard of like VirtualBox, which is an application you can run on a computer to run virtual machines. But there are actual full operating systems where their sole purpose is to manage virtual machines. I'm specifically using one called Proxmox. There's another one like ESEX or something. And there's a I think that's the one from VMware. But basically, this is a really big, beefy machine that's running this, which lets me create a bunch of other virtual machines. And so for that, you need a bunch of RAM because you need to be able to allocate some RAM for a given machine, and you need to allocate some CPUs for a given machine. So I started looking into used computers that had at least 128 gigabytes of RAM, and I came across the Dell... Oh, no, it's not the Optiplex. It's the Precision. Dell Precision... T5610 is the one that I got. I got it on Newegg, and I got an amazing deal on it. So it has 2 12-core Xeon processors, 128 gigabytes of RAM, and it didn't come with any hard drives. I had to put all the hard drives in it. But I only paid like $550, like under $600 for that thing. And yeah, it's super beefy. And so that machine, I have Proxmox running on it, and within Proxmox, I can create multiple virtual machines. One of those virtual machines is running Home Assistant. Another one is running Portainer. And so Portainer is really cool. It's like a a visual way of managing Docker containers. And I know there's a lot of different ways to do it. Like technically, Proxmox supports not Docker containers, but what are they called? They're it's like the technology that Docker is based off of. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? But yeah, that's the one from VMware, the ESXi thingy. That's a hypervisor. LXC? LXC. So, something like that. Is that it? We can look up Proxmox containers. Yeah, LXC, that's it, Linux containers. So Proxmox supports this, but it's not actually directly Docker, and you could technically run Docker images within this, but I'm not doing that. What I decided to do was to make one fairly beefy virtual machine that's about like a third of the power of the entire machine itself, and that one machine is going to run all of the Docker containers that I want to run. And specifically, I'm running Portainer on it, which gives you a nice UI for managing all of your Docker containers, and there's like a visual editor, and you can just like paste in your Docker Compose YAML and like instantly spin up stacks of stuff. So we've got that running. And then there's one other one. What is it running? I forget. I have another virtual machine. It's doing something. And then aside from all of those things running on the big machine, I actually still have one of my old laptops. And it's running Frigate, which is a completely open source network video recorder, so for your security cameras, but it comes with like person detection. And I'm running that on my dedicated old laptop because it actually has an NVIDIA video card, which allows the object detection and person detection to run fairly quickly using the native hardware. Whereas, like, I could set it up or try to set it up on a virtual machine, but I ended up just using that old laptop because it wasn't being used for anything anyways. Yeah, and you technically could run Home Assistant within Docker, but if you look at the Home Assistant, like, getting started and setup, there's a lot of different ways to install it. I actually went with the Home Assistant operating system because it includes all this stuff. Actually, I went with supervised because that just gives me a virtual machine image that I was just able to import into Proxmox. And it's nice because it manages all of the various pieces that make up Home Assistant, because it's like a lot of modules and stuff like that. Cool. That's all I'm going to talk about for now. Let's answer some questions. Oh, or before I stop, I mean, do you have any specific questions about what I just talked about? Then let's answer some code questions. Yeah. Yeah, and Flipstar is saying I should look at Pi-hole in the setup. Yeah, so Pi-hole is a type of like VPN firewall that will like block ads and stuff on your network. I don't really want to block ads at the network level, mainly because I have like ad blockers on all of my individual phones and laptops and stuff like that. See you later, super secret name. Thanks for being here. Curious Drive says, how does a hypervisor work? I mean, you could think of it as just a dedicated operating system that's running VirtualBox. Do I have anything curious on here? Oh yeah, I have Pop! OS. I think the last time I opened VirtualBox was on stream, like a couple years ago. But if you've ever used VirtualBox, if you haven't, you should just download it and you can spin up some virtual machines. This is just like an application running on your computer that lets you spin up virtual machines. But it's somebody mentioned it earlier, like a type 1 versus a type 2 hypervisor. I believe this is type 2 because it's an application. Like it's an application running on the computer that lets me spin up virtual machines. Whereas a type 1, the operating system itself lets you spin up virtual machines. and it's a lot faster that way. There's less overhead because you're not running inside of another operating system. The operating system is basically dedicated to running virtual machines. So I just show you some examples of it. This is kind of what it looks like. So basically you install Proxmox on the server, and then you access it from the web, from any machine on your home network. And the web UI looks like this, and you have like little nodes here that you can manage. You can create new virtual machines. And so basically the server doesn't have any desktop UI or desktop software. It's purely just running, and then you can access it in a web browser on the network to manage your virtual machines. And then all of those virtual machines could potentially be on a virtual network with like internal static IPs, or they could have IP addresses of your home network, and then you can access those from your home network as well. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. One day, not right now. I want to get everything cleaned up. And the tricky part about like sharing a lot of this is like, I don't want to expose my public IP addresses. I mean, my IP address changes because it's not static, but still, I don't want to expose some of that stuff. I also don't want to potentially expose some of the dynamic DNS domain names and stuff like that that I'm using. So I want to talk more about this, but I need to be able to scrub my personal information from the stuff before I demonstrate it, that kind of thing. So yeah. What's the price for 1 month of electricity? I have no idea. So for one of those larger, like real servers, it's probably a lot. But for something like the workstation, it's about as much as a gaming computer. Yeah. And Roy has a career advice question. I'm an international student who's getting a degree in CS. Do you know any resources where I can look for startups to get some experience? There's some job boards. Just search for startup job boards. I know there's like angel.co. I looked at that a long time ago when I was looking for jobs. There's also like these. Yeah, just try some of these websites. I don't know any like definitive answers. Yeah. Cool. Don't forget to host a Tor exit node. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Okay. Let's answer some questions. And first of all, thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. Happy Friday. Yeah, what's the expected uptime of my server? I mean, 100%. I mean, it's technically not even running right now because I'm still doing a lot of other stuff. So it's not running 24/7 yet. But it will be. It will be. We got some supports. Thank you, Acid Spark, for the 23 months, YY with the 8 months, and Jifferam with the 19 months. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. Take a half day at work so I can focus on my OSCP lab. Nice. Isn't OSCP security stuff? The Offensive Security Certified Professional. Nice. Nice. No, it wasn't Trafic. Here, well, actually, no, it's not. My server isn't even up for me to look at. What is it? It doesn't matter. I'll give you more detail later on. Yeah, and so let's start answering some questions. If you have questions in the chat, you can do !ask followed by your question. It will appear on this website, vox.coding.garden. I do recommend that you use those chat commands because if you don't, your question will likely get lost in the chat. Yeah. I don't usually disable slow mode, mainly because I want the messages that you send in the chat to be very thoughtful. So slow mode is set to, well, you can't see it, but it's set to 20 seconds, which means you have 20 seconds to construct a very thoughtful message that you can send instead of just spamming the chat. All right, if you've asked a question already, type ! here. It'll bubble up to the top. And first one from Excavator. Have I ever experimented with computer vision? Only slightly. So computer vision really is just computer code that looks at video or images. Let's read the Wikipedia article. So, an interdisciplinary scientific field that deals with how computers can gain high-level understanding from digital images or videos. From the perspective of engineering, it seeks to understand and automate tasks that human visual system can do. So, I mean, earlier I was talking about person and object detection in a security camera system. This is technically computer vision because someone's written the algorithms to detect the objects within the given image or video. I personally haven't written any computer vision stuff from scratch, but I have like used other tools that have used it. So I've used this. I've played around with OpenCV, which is a library for analyzing images, open source computer vision, OpenCV, computer vision. That's it. That's computer vision. And then also on stream, we've looked at Ml5 Js before. It specifically is using TensorFlow JS under the hood, but they have really easy things that you can use like an image classifier. So this is all the code it takes to pass it an image and then get back what it thinks that image is. So you can pass it this, and it'll tell you a robin, an American robin, or a Turdus migratorius. So this library makes it super easy to do like object detection. So yeah. That's my answer to that question. I've never written it from scratch, but I've used libraries that have done it. Does anybody want to see an example? Should we write some code? Let's see what BodyPix does. Person and body part segmentation. Interesting. So, and also a shout out to our friend, Mr. Shishman. From the Coding Train. He does a ton of this stuff over on his YouTube channel. So definitely check him out. And he also is on, he's on Twitch now. So definitely go check him out. But let's do it. We'll do a simple one. What's the face API do? Oh. Access face and face landmark detection. What kind of data you get back? I think this could be fun. Here's what we can do. We can access the user's webcam and then put like two little eyeballs on top of their face, because this will basically detect where their eyes are in the image. Right? Let's do it. I don't think my video is blocked. I think you're trying to rickroll me. Super secret. Okay, let's set up some code. Computer vision with Ml5. Ml5 is cool because it's just a JavaScript library. Like you can just create an HTML page, include it as a script tag, and then just use it. So I'll throw a script right here. We need to grab the library itself. So let's look at getting started. This one. Always recognize the YouTube video that ends like that. Yeah. So we've added Ml5 to this page. We're going to create our own JavaScript that accesses it. And it should be fairly simple to just get an image from the webcam and detect where the eyeballs are in the person in the image. So it's there. Great. Let's try Face API. Ooh, what's Face Mesh? Oh, Face Mesh. Interesting. I think I just want Face API though, because it's going to give me landmarks. So let's do it. Copy the code. Paste the code. So, we're going to create a new instance of face API. And then when it's loaded, we'll call the model loaded function. Yeah, done. Ship it. So this is going to load the model. And then when it's loaded, we do this. And right now, it's just trying to detect from an image. But I'm going to set up a video here that has that accesses the webcam. I forget how to do it, so let's look it up on MDN. Webcam. We need to like get user media. This one. I think this is what we want, and so this is going to give us a stream to the user's webcam, and then we can pass that stream into Ml5. Good morning, Griffway. Thanks for being here. We need some constraints. In this case, we just want video, and we'll ask for it at that resolution. We're going to put this right here. And then we'll say audio false because we just want the video. And then do I like the new? Is there a new MDN? Wait, is this dark mode built in? I love it. I didn't even realize. I thought my browser was doing that. But yeah, this is cool. I like their new logo too. It's great. It's great. Okay, so we've got the stream. I'm gonna put that stream into a video element. So we'll grab the video that's on the page and set its source equal to that stream, like so. So the video is on the page. When the page loads, I'm gonna have the user click a button. It just says start, because you can't usually can't request video access unless there's like user interaction. And so when that button is clicked, we will get the media. Like this. Yeah, I agree, Acid Spark. You can instantly make my opinion of your website better if you default, or let me choose dark mode. Yeah. I need to set the source object. I think only in some browsers. Let's see. Let's see if this works. So, that's there. I'm gonna click start. Do I want to use my camera? I'll do FaceTime HD camera. I'll allow it. And then I might need to do source object. Oh, I need to create a media URL. That's what I need to do. URL dot create object URL with the stream, like this. Okay, I see the light on my camera, and then it immediately turned off. Do I need to set source object? I could look this up. Check the logs. So right now, Ml5 is loading up, and so this is failing because my image doesn't actually exist. Hey, Baldy, thanks for being here. URL, create object URL is not valid for the one argument overloads. We are doing something wrong. What is it? Source object equals media stream. Oh, that's all you have to do. Okay, never mind. Yeah, you were right. You were right, Pablo. This just has to be stream. Like that. Why is it so big? And oh, and I think I have to press play on the video too. Okay. This is fine. Let's add some styles. What is this? Oh, we're gonna do face detection, and we're gonna put something on my eyeballs. Someone come up with something interesting to put on my eyeballs. Like what should it be? Should it just be a cartoon eyeball? Okay, we're gonna style the video so it has a width of, let's say, 500 pixels. I'm also gonna add is it Pico CSS? Just so our button will look nice by default. Anime eyes? Can we find some anime eye? What if we had chat commands to change what my eyeballs look like? Cool. So we do this. We need to add the CSS, which should reduce the video size. Yeah, so we want the video to be like that. And then we'll just throw the video in a little flex container. $sign eyes? I like that. And then we need to style the container. Display. Flex. Justify content. Center. Align items. Center. All right, and the last thing we do is after setting the source object, we press play. So at this point, we should get my webcam. That's me. Hello. And now we can pass this video stream into Ml5 to detect the face. Yeah. I look so different. It's like, I mean, you can see my webcam camera isn't as good. Okay. We'll do all of this after loading the video. So let's put this in a function. Detect face. All that's going to happen within here. Detect face, we're going to pass in the video stream. And then, or actually, maybe we can pass in the video element, I think. And then pass in the video element here instead of that. Cool. So now after playing it, we'll then say detect face with that video element. And let's see what happens. We'll watch the console. So we start the video. We're here. Now it's going to load. It loaded the model. And it broke. Invalid dimensions, width 0, height 0. Ooh, I wonder if we have to explicitly put the width here. Oof, we have to specify the height. All right, with a 500 pixel wide video, the height for this aspect ratio is 281.25. Like that. I mean, technically, I don't even need the CSS thing anymore, but regardless. Hey, do I have to continuously detect? Yeah, so that only gave me one detection point. So that tells me, let's see, the aligned rectangle is a box with this width and height and this X and Y. So that we could technically draw a box around the face. Now, the thing is, because this is video, I want to continuously detect where the face is. And I wonder if there's an option for that. Detect. If given an image, this is the image that the face detection will be applied. If given an object, it is set as the configuration. If given a callback, this is to handle the results of the detect method. Okay, detect single, given an image, will run face detection. Okay. It would be easy enough to just get the next face location each time. So I guess let's do that. But let's first of all, let's do something with the results. Let's just put a box on the video itself. So results is an array. I know there's only going to be one person here, so I'm just going to grab the first one. And then I think I want the aligned rectangle. Was there a dot video? You mean in here? An HTML5 video object if one is passed in the constructor. Oh, I mean, I think dot video is, you could do face API dot video. I don't know if it'd be useful for us though. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out though. So the face is going to be results. So that's going to grab the first face in those results. And then if face is a thing, we're going to grab the aligned rectangle. Is that what it was called? Aligned rect. We're going to pull the aligned rect from the face, and then the aligned rect has a underscore box property with height, width, X, and Y. So aligned rect has a box, and then that box has a height, a width, an X, and a Y. Like this. So now we can use all of those to draw a box. And here's what I'm going to do. So we have this container that has actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to create a div that is the exact width and height of the video, and then we're going to put things inside of the div. So we're going to call this the video wrapper, and it's going to have the exact same width and height, but that will allow us to position other elements right on top of the video. So this will have a position of relative, so all of the elements inside of it will be positioned relative to it. And then for now, I'm just going to have a div, and we're going to call this the face box. For now, I'm just going to draw a box, and then once we get that working, we know it's possible, and then we'll next level destructuring it. I'll explain what those mean. Are there methods to access it? I guess I could try to look in these docs. I mean, like the results themselves are here. I don't really see any documentation on what the results look like, which is why I'm accessing those properties. Just a second. Okay, so face box we'll have some styles. Let's say outline is 2 pixels solid red. And then we are going to set its width, height, and XY location. So this is going to have a position of absolute, because we're going to absolutely position it within that wrapper with the given XY and width and height. So in here, if we have the face, we have the XY width and height. And so let's put the face box in a variable. So we grab the face box, and then once we have this information, we can apply it. So facebox.style.width is the width, and then we do the same thing with height, and then we can set its top and left. So the top is going to be Y pixels, and then the left is going to be X pixels. All right, so if I stand really, really still, we should get the first face location. I don't know if it happened or not. Oh, there it is. It's tiny. It's teeny tiny. Look at it. It's close to my face, so I want to assume I just did something wrong. Oh, I need to put pixels on these as well. All of these need to have pixels on them. All right, here we go. Yeah, what's up, Electrothermal? It worked. Okay, but it's not real time because it just detects the first one. And we need to continuously detect it. So basically what we need to do is do this again. Again and again and again and again and again. How does my brain not explode with all these IDE errors? I mean, it's because this code is quick and dirty. Like, I mean, I could fix it. That's what my linter wants me to do. I don't know if I agree with it. Yeah, I need to put this into a function, really. I mean, I guess it already is in a function. I'm just gonna rename this to detect face. $25 calls per second. Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. We could do this, and then we could immediately call it again. I have a feeling my computer is going to take off. Like, this is going to be way too much processing. So model loaded. Look at that. Woo! Woo! But it's happening a lot. So like I probably could give it some kinds of like set timeout so that it doesn't happen too much. I mean, I don't hear my computer, fans. You can see it takes a second sometimes. Well, yeah, that's fine. Let's see what else we get inside of there. Oh, cover my face? Yeah, so we need to hide the face box if there is no face. So if we didn't find a face, don't show it. If we did find a face, show it. Wait, is that... No, is it a real hat? What are you talking about? Okay, great. So we have the face. Now my computer is starting to take off. Computer assisted peekaboo, yes. I want to see if it tells me like where the eyeballs are. because then we can do some fun stuff. Okay, so we get this. We have the rectangle, landmarks. I think landmarks are what I want. Parts. Ooh, that's easy. Look, parts and then left eye, right eye. So left eye. Why do we have multiple coordinates? I guess because it's detecting it like this. I think we really just need to find the center point of those coordinates. I think that's what we should do. It's basically outlining the eye itself. Yeah, so I think if we find the center point of these coordinates, that's where we can put the left image or right image. Cool. So this is going to be the result dot parts dot left eye and dot right eye. I think Alkabot is online. And it is an array of coordinates. Is there a center point formula? So array of coordinates, find center point. You literally take the average. Literally. I mean, this has 19 upvotes. It's got to be right, right? Like, is this mathematically sound? Do we have any math people in the chat? Is this how you find the center point? You just take the average? Yeah, I mean, that's what people are saying. Let's do it. I can do that. I have the skills to do that. Okay. So let's find the left center and then the right center. I guess I'll write a little function for it. Find center, and you get in an array of points, and we'll have the x sum starts off as 0. We have the y sum starts off as 0. We iterate over the points. We get back underscore x and underscore y. And then we sum it up. So x plus equals underscore x. Same thing with y. And then we're going to return an object where x is x sum divided by points.length. Yeah, we could use reduce. I didn't want to think about how to use reduce though, so I just wrote it like this. And this should work. This should be all we need. So iterate over the array, basically average all the x's and y's, and that gives us the center. Fantastic. Now we can say the left center is find the center of the left eye, and then the right center is find the center of the right eye, and then we can do a very similar thing with the left and the right. So let's say we have some elements. So we're not going to do the face box anymore. We're going to do the left eye and the right eye. And an eye, for now, is just going to be a circle. So it'll have like a width of 50 pixels, a height of 50 pixels, a background of red, and border radius. I don't know why I don't know why I had to pause for that. So that's what an eye looks like, and then we get the left eye and the right eye. So left eye, we're gonna grab the left eye. The right eye, we're gonna grab the right eye. So we can just do this, left eye. And then we do the same thing with the right eye. Yeah, I'll after we get this going, I mean, you'll see it. You'll see exactly what I'm doing. But yeah, I will explain it. Right eye. Okay. Do the same thing here. We're setting the top, the left. We need to give it a position absolute. And we need to use this. So this is going to be the left center.x. No, .y. What if I close one eye? Probably can't find it. And this is the right center dot y and the right center dot x. Should be fine. It'll work first try, right? Oh, that's how big my eyes are going to be. Oh, we messed up. Can't access property symbol.iterator results is undefined. Oh. Oh, okay. Well, I gotta fix this. Left eye points. Right eye points. I had a variable collision. But that wasn't the issue. It was saying this is not a thing. There actually was an error. Let's see. Can't access property length points is undefined. Did I do this right? Oh, because I extracted. Yeah, no, that should be fine. Let's look at the face. Aligned rectangle parts. Did I do this right? I mean, it could be that my destructuring is just bad. Oh no, it's not giving us. No, that's fine. So that's fine. I did this wrong. I need to rename them like this. Oof. Okay, that should fix it. And then I'll explain what's happening here. Yeah, thank you, Nino Soror. We figured it out. Woo, okay, so yeah, we have to we have to adjust their positioning because right now it's positioning the top left corner, and we want to adjust them by 50%. So we can just do transform translate -50%, -50%, and then we'll reduce the size to 20. That should do it. Nice. Nice. Great. So this is what we were doing. So we're using Ml5 Js, which is a really easy to use library that's built on top of TensorFlow JS, and we're specifically using the Face API module that detects all the facial features of anything in the image. Oh, cover one eye. What happens? No, it's really sure that if I have one eye, then I probably have two eyes. Yeah. So yeah, and this library is like super easy. You basically just pass in an image or a video, and it'll give you back all the information about the stuff it finds. It gives you all these points, like the location of the eyes, the mouth, and stuff like that. And so all we did was find the center point of all the eye points, and then we're putting a circle right there. Cool. That's it. That's all. I mean, it would be fun if we added Twitch chat so you could actually change what's on my eyes. Can the colors be changed when the eyes blink? We'd have to detect blinking. I don't think that's built in, but if the coordinates it gives us change when you blink, then we could detect blinking. Can I fix my function names? What's wrong with my function names? Yeah, let's make them emojis though. That'll be fun. That's gonna be creepy. Font size. Let's see what we get with 3rem. Two function with the same name. I don't think I do. So we've got find center. Oh, you're right. You're totally right. We'll call this start detection. Yeah, I did not realize that. It technically still works because it's in a different scope. But yeah, you're right. Okay. That's funny. Wow. Nice. All right, I think I'm gonna call it there. This code will be on GitHub, so if you want to look at it, modify it, you're more than welcome to. But we're gonna answer some more questions because this is, I mean, we've only answered one question today, and that's it. It kind of suits me. Yeah. It looks good, huh? Cool. I'll remove the logging because I think even the logging would like slow the page down. And what if we don't do it immediately? What if we detect a face after waiting 200 milliseconds? Will that prevent my computer from taking off? Oh, I'm I'm moving and I haven't even started the camera yet. Yeah, that 200 milliseconds delay is not good. It's not good at all. What if I did this? Yeah, so what had happened with the two functions that are named the same thing, they technically shadowed each other. Use the video method to prevent recursive? Like this? Would this, is that what you mean? Oof. Did not mean to do that. Where did that even come from? FaceAPI.video is not a function. I don't know how. So video is a property. It's not a method. There's detect single. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see how they did it in their example. Oh, they passed in video as the detect. So they pass in a video, the options, and the ready function. Right now, I'm just passing in the options and the ready function. But then when they say detect, they actually don't have to pass in the video. But I think they still technically have to call it over and over again, because you can see that after they get the results, they then detect another face, and they just do it over and over again. Put .video to true and use detect function normally. But video isn't a boolean. I'll do it the way that they're doing it here. So pass in the video element, I believe. And then now detect. Doesn't even need, you don't need to pass it in. And then we call detect face after it's all done. Let's see if this works. If this works, I'm going to leave it at that. I think it's fine. Well. Too much recursion. All right, I'm going to go back to what I was doing. But having looked at the example code, I am fairly confident that you just need to call it self. It calls itself again after detecting it. Cool. There it is. Okay. Let me put this on GitHub. Oh. There's a lot of stuff that never made it to GitHub. Cool. And thank you for that sub. I'll say your name in just a second. So the code specifically is here, computer vision. Check it out. Modify it, make it cooler. My code was super simple. I'm sure you can do some really cool stuff with it. Look at that. All right, let's answer some more questions. That cool, and thank you for your question, Excavator. That was a fun excursion. But lots of supports. Roy, thank you for that Prime sub. Supeko with the 8 months, and Lord McGurk, thank you for the sub. Yeah, you're welcome. For the code. All right, if you have already asked a question, type exclamation mark here. That question will bubble up. Oh no, it is TensorFlow JS. I was just talking about like what is computer vision, and I talked about OpenCV being one of them. But Ml5 JS is built on top of TensorFlow JS, so it technically was TensorFlow JS. Okay. Let's answer this one from Sound of Gaming. Is it true that once you get your first programming job that it's significantly easier to get another programming job? I've put in 100 applications and only got 1 bite. I fixed my resume for the last 10 submissions, which got more eyes than the previous 90. Is it really just a numbers game? It is. I'll say I don't personally have the experience of like trying to apply to a bunch of different places because I got a job many years ago. Before coding boot camps were like even a thing, and I got a computer science degree, and I went to the career fair, and I got an internship. I went like the classic route. So I don't have a lot of experience with this, but I have taught students that have experience with this, and from what I've seen there, I can say that it is a numbers game. Obviously, the more high quality applications you put out there, the more likely you're going to hear back instead of just sending out 100 resumes and applying to 100 different jobs all with the exact same resume and cover letter. Like, if you put more effort into specifically tailoring your job application to a given company, you might be more likely to hear back from them. But yeah, at the end of the day, it really is a numbers game. And then to your first question, I do believe that to be true. Once you've already had a programming job, then it's hard to not find a job. Like, recruiters will be reaching out to you. I was gonna say harass. No, they will reach out to you, even if you already have a job. That kind of thing. Alistar Place says, "Do you get hassled by recruiters online? I don't get any attention because I put in weird job titles on LinkedIn." I do. I think because I have a Twitch and a YouTube, they somehow find me. But if you find my LinkedIn, I've even anonymized all of the names of the companies that I've worked at. So for someone to even, if they reach out to me and they don't know me from Twitch or YouTube, it's pretty suspicious because none of the company names listed on my LinkedIn are real. I use like abbreviations. And that's just to make it harder for you all to find me, because some of you are creeps. But I still get messages from recruiters, so yeah. And moderator is saying, as a veteran who had no experience, I can also add that cover letters can help as well. Wired Devil is saying, I said it is. I'm always hired at the first company I'm applying at. Yeah, I guess it varies. Yeah, and I didn't mean all of you are weird. There are some weirdos out there. Super secret name. Now every link you share, I'm just gonna think as a Rickroll. So I'm not gonna click it. I appreciate the effort, but I'm not gonna click it. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's good. Like, the tailoring your resume or your application to a given company makes it more likely for them to potentially reach out. At the same time, like, you're just one more resume in a stack of resumes. So, I mean, I think if you can try and network, I know these days it's really hard with everything being remote, but like, if you know someone that works at a company, them just working there can make it much more likely that your resume gets bumped up and actually gets looked at. So yeah, it's tricky. I will say, keep at it. Potentially you could do some like freelance work in the meantime, something like Upwork or some of those other websites where you can just bid on projects. But keep at it. That's my advice. Keep at it, and it really is a numbers game. That's my advice. Cool. Okay, type exclamation mark here if you have asked a question. It'll bubble up. Hey, you're welcome, Sound of Gaming. And I believe in you. You can get a job. You got this. I'll answer this one really quick. Is recursion used a lot on the job? Recursion has always been one of those topics that I just don't understand at all. I don't think I can remember or name a time where I actually used recursion. Now, that's going to vary depending on where you work and what you actually do, but for the most part, if you're building front-end websites or like back-end APIs, probably not. I mean, there might be some okay, the one example of recursion I can think of is if you're making an API request for paginated data and you want to get all of the data all at once. So basically, you make a request for a page of data. That response gives you back like a cursor or some information on how to get the next page, and then you recursively call itself with that next page. So that way you can get all the pages of data. Like an example would be like the Twitch API. If I wanted to get back every single follower of my channel, it comes back at most 100 at a time. So I would need to request 100 of them. That gives me back a cursor or like a pagination token. And then I use that to get the second page, then the third page, then the fourth page. And at the end of it all, I can get an array of 45,480 followers. So that is like the only thing where recursion comes to mind, because the function is calling itself with the next page number. Other than that, no. Okay, question from Limotes. Any updates on your journey to hosting a bunch of your own stuff, files, email, and photos? Super interested to hear what you're coming up with, since I also want to start doing something similar. I talked about this at the beginning of the stream, but I will share it again, because there are people here that weren't here earlier. And actually, no worries, Limotes. But that reminds me, because that was like, there's one more virtual machine that I have on my big server, and I couldn't remember what it is. And it's own. I can't remember. There's OwnCloud. There's two open source clouds, and I forget which one's the better one and which one's the one I'm actually using. Nextcloud. I think I'm using Nextcloud. Yes, Nextcloud is the one that I'm using. But yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown of it. So first of all, I started like building out my big beefy server. It's got 128 gigs of RAM. It's got 24 cores. So it has two processors, each with 12 cores, but then those have hyperthreading. So within my my hypervisor within Proxmox, it actually says I have 48 cores. So 128 gigabytes of RAM, 48 cores. That machine can have multiple virtual machines on it. And I have one virtual machine running Home Automation, Home Assistant. I have one running Nextcloud. And then I have another one, which is a pretty beefy one running Portainer. And that's where I will run any Docker containers that I need to run. But I started building this out, and then I started thinking about the fact that, okay, well, now if I'm going to be self-hosting this kind of stuff, it needs to be accessible from the internet somehow, whether I set up a VPN at home, or there's some sort of like reverse proxy, or you're doing something like dynamic DNS. But regardless, because all of this stuff is running inside of my home, I decided that I needed a firewall, like a legit firewall appliance. And so that's something that I've been spending a lot of time just getting up and going and configured. This is the one that I ended up buying. I got it on sale a few weeks back, maybe a month or so ago. And actually, I didn't mention this earlier, but I ordered the smaller version, so it has 4 gigs of RAM and a 64 gigabyte mSATA SSD thingy. And it had that label on the box, but the first thing I did after I got it is I opened it up because I wanted to see what hardware was inside, and they actually sent me the one that had 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabyte hard drive. So I got a really good deal because I only paid $250 for it. Yeah, I was baffled. I was like, so the first thing I saw was the RAM, and I was like, that's an 8 gigabyte stick. And then I had to unscrew the mSATA to actually look at the size, and I was like, that's 120. Yeah, so I got a deal because they mislabeled it at the Amazon warehouse apparently. But something like this is like a firewall hardware appliance. So it's technically just a computer. Like, it has an Intel processor, it has a RAM, it has a solid state hard drive. But this one is special because it has an integrated NIC, or like a network card with multiple ports on it. And you can basically make those ports do anything you want. So I specifically have installed OpenSense, which is a firewall operating system. I've installed this onto the machine, and then within OpenSense, I have settings to say that, well, this port should be reserved for the WAN, the wide area network. So my fiber optical network terminal is plugged into this port, and then all of these ports are plugged into various switches and devices in my house. And so basically, I have that set up within OpenSense to say that, well, these are all LAN ports. They're all bridged together. There's a DHCP server running on the machine that can assign IP addresses to anything plugged in there. And so I have that all configured in OpenSense. Yeah. And what's up, One Computer Guy? Yeah, and so I talked about this earlier too. Like, I was looking at pfSense, because when you start looking into like home firewalls and stuff, pfSense is probably one of the most popular ones, but OpenSense is actually a fork of pfSense. And the long and short of it is OpenSense actually is a lot more open source than pfSense, if you can say that. On the scale of open source, OpenSense is more open source. And I like their UI better, and they have dark mode, as you can see. So it's pretty sweet. So that's first of all, I started setting up this server, but then I was like, I don't want to just expose this stuff to the web. So I need some kind of firewall if I'm going to be doing some sort of exposure to the web. So I set all of that up. And then now I'm in the process of figuring out how I'm going to allow access to these services from outside my network. Because technically, I could just do dynamic DNS, and then I have a domain name that points to my home network that can access these things. But I don't like that, because then if somehow that domain name gets leaked, someone could figure out my home IP address, which I don't like. The thing that I think I will do, and yeah, I'll explain what dynamic DNS is in just a second. But the thing I think I'm going to do is a reverse tunnel. And Cloudflare specifically has a service that lets you do this, but you also could set something like this up yourself. What is Tailscale? One of those things? Zero config VPN. I've never heard of it. I'll have to look into it. But so that's one way of doing it. The other way is like an SSH reverse tunnel. So I was like gonna draw a picture or something, but let's pretend this is a server running in the cloud. So this is, yeah, and that's the other aspect of wanting to hide my IP address, is if I use some sort of tunneling system, then my IP address isn't exposed at all, because all of the traffic will be going through some cloud server. So it's like an extra hop, one level of removal from my actual home network. So let's say this is the cloud. This is a server running on AWS, and it has an SSH server running on it. And this computer is exposed to the web. So like, just like you can go to coding.garden, this is a web server running on AWS that is exposed to the web. So I could do this. I'm not going to do this because everyone knows this website and then they'd have access to my home, but I could set up some subdomains like home.coding.garden or like nextcloud.coding.garden. And I technically could host that server on that service itself, but what I could also do is a reverse tunnel or reverse proxy. So this server is running SSH, and then the computer that I want to expose, like let's say this Nextcloud computer, I actually execute a command on this computer that opens an SSH tunnel to this machine on with a specific port, and that exposes the service running on this machine to this machine on a specific port. So what that would allow you to do is, if you were SSH'd into this, you could make a request to localhost port 9000. That would actually be redirected to this service running in my home to that specific thing running on some port. But then you can combine that with something like Nginx or HA proxy, so that way when a request comes into nextcloud.coding.garden, it's a reverse proxy to port 9000, which is in turn as an SSH tunnel back to my home network. So that is, I think, how I'm going to set all of this up. And specifically, I'll do it with just my own hosted server. And so like that whole idea right there is very similar to something like ngrok. So if you've looked at this before, this is a way of exposing stuff on your local network to the public web, and it you get like a little ngrok subdomain, but you technically could set something like this on your own server. There's a GitHub repo called Awesome Tunneling that a guy has put together that has just a bunch of different services that are like ngrok that would let you do something like I'm explaining right now, basically this reverse tunnel concept. But yeah, at the end of the day, I might also just go with Cloudflare because I believe I could even use it on the free tier. Ultimately, I was trying to not have cloud services is the thing, is like to be completely self-hosted. But at the end of the day, like Cloudflare is really good at preventing like denial of service attacks and preventing fishy traffic and stuff like that. So I might use something like that. Yeah. So all of that to say, I spent a lot of time just figuring out the firewall. And I think who asked it? Was it Limodes that asked it? Somebody asked. How do you know all this? Does it have a 3080? No, so that specific firewall appliance I was using, it has. I'll show you the CPU that it has, and then I'll also show you something that you should look into. So it has an N3700. So I know I'm rambling a lot today, but if you find yourself wanting to set up your own little Linux firewall, something that you should look out for is for the given processor on it, does it support AES new instructions? So this is basically like hardware level encryption. And because it's a firewall appliance and because it's doing all the like SSL negotiation and stuff like that, it needs to be able to do encryption at the hardware level. So this specific processor, the Intel Pentium N3700, it has 4 cores, a base frequency of 1.6 gigahertz, and it does support AES new instructions. So if you find some like cheaper boxes that use like the Intel J something, that specific processor doesn't support AES new instructions. So you might run into higher CPU usage and like slower network speeds because it has to do more work to encrypt the stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Like I wish I got a whole box of hard drive because I don't know. This isn't the stream where I'm going to go into. I mentioned this before, but that I'm not going to go into all the details of this. But I will do a stream where I'm actually going to physically show you this computer that I have and show you all of the stuff that I put into it. But I had to buy hard drives. I ended up getting some Iron Wolf 4 terabyte drives. Yeah. Yeah, so Limodes asks, where are you learning about all this? Just random research or specific resources? Basically random research. I'll say the subreddit r/Homelab is really good. There's tons of resources here. And then there's like a specific community for, like once I learned about pfSense and OpenSense, they have their own subreddits, which have good discussion and you can get help for stuff there. And then there are quite a few YouTube channels just that talk about home labs in general. So if you search for Homelab, you'll find a bunch of great ones. Techno Tim is great. I've watched him. I've watched Craft Computing. Who else? This guy, Network Chuck. Network Chuck has really quality video production and editing. So yeah, he did this video. Your home router sucks. Use pfSense instead. But I'm saying use OpenSense, not pfSense. But still, like, this is a good video because it gives a general overview of like what the stuff is. So yeah, just a lot of research, like figuring out that I need to do something and then researching a bunch to figure out how to do that specific thing. So yeah. Teleport. Cool. I'll look into that. It sets up WireGuard tunnels between all devices. You don't have to expose any servers. Yeah. That's the other interesting thing is like I could set up a home VPN server so that if I wanted to access those services, I would have to VPN into my home. But then if I just think about like person notification of a security camera, I don't want to have to be connected to my VPN all the time on my phone to be able to get those kinds of notifications from when I'm outside of my home, which is why I would use something like a reverse tunnel so that the server would be public and I wouldn't have to be on a VPN on my phone to get those notifications. I don't know. Yeah. The way I have services in my Homelab is Trafic as a reverse proxy, and I've added Athelia for two-factor authentication. I've never heard of Athelia. Sounds cool. Sounds cool. Okay. Yeah, and again, I think it's just like how I learned to code. I look up a lot of internet stuff. So, I mean, there's tons of YouTubers that talk about this stuff. You can find articles. I will say that like I did a lot of this stuff in my past life. So before being a software engineer, I worked at an IT help desk and I was very familiar with like setting up machines. This was my first experience setting up a firewall. I've worked with Proxmox like 15 years ago, like long time ago. But I was familiar with it enough to be able to like set it up. So yeah, I mean, I would say treat it the same way you treat learning how to code. Just find your resources online. There's plenty of like available and open resources on learning about like Linux servers and firewalls and virtual machines and stuff like that. Yeah. r/self-hosted. Yep. That's a good one. My home router does that. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I mean, the thing is, I kind of want to show you how my home network is being bombarded with requests from all these random servers, but I don't want to expose my IP address. Let me see what I can do. Let's expose those attackers. No, I mean, there's not going to be an easy way because like the firewall log shows my current public IP address. It is cool to see though. Like if you're just using like an off-the-shelf router, like a TP-Link or an ASUS or whatever else, you don't really get as much visibility into like what's actually happening on your network. And with a firewall like this, you do. You get tons of visibility, and there's like really cool things you can set up with like dashboards and stuff where you can like people have created dashboards that can get data from pfSense or OpenSense and show you like where network requests are coming from on a map, or show you like the throughput of how much data is going through your router and stuff like that. So yeah. Hey, what's up, Trash Dev? Thanks for being here. The main inspiration was being able to self-host my stuff because eventually I don't want Google on my phone at all. Eventually I'm going to have some sort of self-hosted email. Part of having Nextcloud will be so that all of my photos can get uploaded here, because right now all of my photos get uploaded to Google Photos. So I want to be able to self-host and own all of my data. I don't want to be dependent on other stuff. And shout out to our friend Trash Dev. Definitely go check them out. I'm overwhelmed by size of my first job project. Any tips? Take it one day at a time. That project was probably built by many, many different people and got big over time. So just take it one step at a time. That's my tip. Is basically you'll be assigned some feature or bug to work on. Find the place in the code where that thing is. Work on that one little thing, and over time you'll implement more and more features, and you'll get more familiar with the rest of the system. So that's my advice. Yeah. Piece by piece, exactly. What do we think about Microsoft's proposal to TC39? What is their proposal to TC39? Microsoft? Is it a stage? I mean, these list out, I think this... No, these don't list stage 0 or stage 1. What stage is it? Yeah. I don't understand how solving leak code problems can make you a better programmer. Is that even true? Solving leak code problems will make you a better logical problem solver, because there's probably a better term for it, but the types of problems that you're solving on leak code are often very different than the kinds of problems you're solving when you're building a component in a React app. So it's a completely different skill set. I would say that, yeah, you potentially will be a better type of programmer, like better at solving problems, but that's not necessarily going to make you better at building React components. You see what I mean? See what I mean? Learning how to learn is a superpower. Exactly. I mean, once you know how to learn, you can learn anything. I taught myself how to play guitar. I taught myself how to skateboard. I taught myself how to build computers from scratch. I taught myself how to program. Like, I taught myself a lot of stuff. So once you... Yeah, I mean, and you don't necessarily have to teach yourself, because you're learning from... I say I taught myself, but I found resources so that I could learn those things. Yeah. That's another good point for the person asking about, like, being overwhelmed by a big project. Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. Oh yeah, I think I use that. So actually, I do want to look at this, because if this is the dark theme I'm thinking of for Proxmox, yeah, I actually didn't do the install. I was like, why on earth do you need to replace like PHP files and like and Python files? Well, I guess it has Python because it's serving up the JavaScript and the CSS, but basically this is a custom theme for Proxmox, the thing that is running my virtual machines. And I was like, I don't want to run the installer. So basically all I did was I went in here, I grabbed the I think there's like built CSS. Yeah, there's this built CSS file, and then I just added this as a user style. And it works for the most part. There's a few things that don't look exactly right, but this is really all it needed to get the dark theme on it. Yeah. If I logged out, stuck a blur filter for the firewall, you mean? I would just have to blur everything because every other line has the IP address on it. I don't know. I'm glad to hear it, Pranjal. Glad to hear getting inspired makes you happy. And what's up, Cypher? Salutations. CrowdSec, a collaborative intrusion prevention system, can work with FreeBSD. Let's see. So yeah, that's the other cool thing about having a firewall appliance is it has things like intrusion detection. Like there's modules you can install to get other types of intrusion detection, but there is one that's built in. And basically intrusion detection will monitor all the traffic on your network, and it will detect common attacks. So if there's like a a brute force password attempt happening on the network between some devices, or if there's like multiple failed login attempts happening on the network, because this software is running on the firewall, which basically has access to everything happening on the network, it can detect certain things like that and block the traffic or show you alerts of that stuff happening. So yeah, I'll have to check out CrowdSec too. Will I program my own mobile OS? No. I'll probably use what's that privacy oriented operating system for Android? Graphene. That's the one. So Graphene is really cool. It's based on the Android open source project, and they've ripped out everything that is Google related. And if you want to do Google-like things, they have a way of sandboxing the Google framework services process. So this would be what I use. Yeah. JS with TypeScript in JS? Come on. No way. Microsoft TC39 proposal. Get out of here, Microsoft. Types as comments? That's it. Okay, types as comments. All right, I'm gonna look at this. That's the next thing. Fireship made a video on it? Okay. I need to pick a hashtag from the given string by cursor movement in React Native. Any ideas? Yeah. I think you need some sort of variable that keeps track of which character the cursor is on. And then you need event listeners to listen for arrow keys so you can move that cursor. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. Type hints in JavaScript. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with just putting TypeScript in. I mean, we'll see. It kind of looks like they want to put types in the browser. I don't like it. That's a big question, Owen Codes. I'll read it. Here, hey there, I passed my JavaScript project on my diploma course, and I'm waiting for my first project resubmission results, hoping I pass, but I'm learning Python now. And later on, I'll be doing a full stack e-commerce site for my final project. But I'm worried. I won't be able to complete it, because I have to learn Django, backend framework, or Python for the backend, and I'm kind of nervous about it. I guess this really isn't a question. You really just want support? I think you could do it, Owen Codes. First of all, do you have to do it with Python? I mean, I think if you've already done it with, or if you already know node.js on the back end, why not just stick with that? But if you do want to learn something new, then yeah, best of luck to you. I think you can do it. At the end of the day, it's all just code. You could figure it out. I don't know. All right, yeah, we found the proposal. We'll look at it now. You have to, Stephen Hungry. And hello, Stephen. It's been a while. But you have to do Java for your new job. That's not horrible. Yeah. Well, no. As you can see, Mr. Cat, I'm 5 minutes behind on chat, which is why things look like they're duplicated, because I do a lot of like scrolling up and down like this. Yeah. How do I add those user styles? I use a browser plugin called Stylus. So Stylus lets you write custom CSS for any website, and then there's also you can download custom CSS that other people have written and just install it in your browser. Stylus add-on, and make sure you get Stylus. There's Stylish, which is now essentially just like spyware. Don't use Stylish. Use Stylus. But then there's like users. I don't know if it's still a website. Userstyles.org. Apparently, it's still a website, but you can search for something like npm, and you can see someone has created npm Dark Mode. And all you got to do is just install this CSS, and then anytime you're on npmjs.com, it'll apply that CSS to the page. Yeah. Remove the build strep from TypeScript. I mean, I could see it happening, but at the same time, like, it has, and I think it will, it has to remain optional. Like, you have to be able to do it without this. And I think by the design of the JavaScript language, like, it wouldn't be able to be merged into the specification if it wasn't backwards compatible. So I guess I'm okay with being able to, like, annotate code, but it shouldn't be a requirement. People, like, JavaScript is still fine without types. That's my opinion. So yeah. Types will be treated as comments, so you don't have to compile your TypeScript anymore. Huh. I have not tried Erlang. The TypeScript runtime becomes a linter, and in dev you can ship full code to the browser. Interesting. I think, like, because TypeScript is becoming so prevalent, it's probably going to happen, but I really like JavaScript without types. I'll dig into this in a second. I'm just going to finish catching up. Okay. Stylus, not stylish. Don't do stylish. Stylus. Because if you look at stylish, they had a thing. So because it was an extension, it got, I don't know if it got compromised or if it was just sketchy to begin with, but the stylish extension was like stealing cookies and doing like really bad stuff. And Stylus is an open source one that doesn't steal your information. So Stylus, use Stylus. Yeah, and then the thing for injecting client-side JavaScript is known as Tamper Monkey. This thing. And that is a very similar idea. You can basically write custom JavaScript that runs on any website. So here it is for Firefox. Here it is for Chrome. I would say I prefer JavaScript when I am doing what I'm doing right now and like on stream, which is building things quickly and building prototypes, because it doesn't get in my way. Whereas like type annotations, if they're required or if I'm using a TypeScript compiler and config, it's yelling at me about all the stuff that I haven't done yet. The code will still work, but it's still yelling at me. And when I start to integrate like web services and stuff like that, I have to add interfaces, and like everything I do, I need some sort of interface defined. It's just a lot more code, which is good in the real world because like it's kind of like documentation as code. Code is documentation. But when I'm prototyping and I'm moving fast, it just slows me down, so I don't like it. Hello, Digital Fortress. Thanks for being here. Can I make a tutorial on React Tailwind for e-commerce? I will definitively say that no, I will not. Normally, when someone asks for a tutorial, I'm like, yeah, one day. I don't think I'll ever do a tutorial on Tailwind because I don't need it in my life. No offense to Tailwind. Tailwind's fine. I just don't use it or want to use it. Happy Path is very good in Django. Sometimes the framework can feel like a bit overkill. Yeah, I know that like Django has a lot built in, which you might not be familiar or might not be accustomed to if you're coming from like Node.js and Express. I have no opinions on Lua and its compiler. I actually don't know, Stony Eagle. Have you changed your Twitch? Have you changed your Twitch image recently? Because it's this. Apparently, I think your just user information is cached. It's gone. So I think I might just have a cached version of it, if you changed it recently. Redux versus the context API. I did a Q&A stream a few weeks ago where I went into the context API pretty in depth. Let's check that out. Yeah. Okay. Could I provide an exemplary use case for Tamper Monkey? Yeah. I mean, I actually don't use it. I don't think I have any user scripts installed in Tamper Monkey these days, but you can do some pretty interesting stuff. Like let's, I mean, I'm getting off topic and I'm not answering people's questions, but we're going down the rabbit hole. Let's write I mean, technically, you wouldn't need a user script for this. You could do it with a user style. But what we could do is we could write some JavaScript that like removes this element over on the left here when the page loads. Like, let's see what this element is called. The MW panel. Right? So if I wrote some JavaScript that said document.query selector the MW panel, and I just remove it, it's gone. Look at that, it's gone. I have literally removed it from the page itself. Now that's not that useful, but you could imagine something like this on some other website that might be useful. But what I can do is in Tamper Monkey, I can create a new script specifically for this website that, like, after the page loads, it runs that line of code like this. And so I can say that I should match any web page that starts with wikipedia.org. An icon is that, sure. The author is me. Description, hide side panel on Wikipedia. Name, Wikipedia custom. Cool. So if I save that, now that is installed in my browser, and now any page I go on Wikipedia, it's going to run that little bit of JavaScript right when I load the page. So if I go here, you can see that it's gone. There's that sidebar is not there anymore. We can navigate all around. You see it, like, it's there for a second. But if we go to the Wikipedia page for JavaScript, it disappears. So obviously that's not super useful, but you could ultimately figure out things that you'd want to run on any website and put that into a user script. Yeah. Okay. Could I store information like this? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, literally anything you can do with JavaScript, you can do in that. So let's look up some of the, I don't know if userscripts.org is still a thing. Oh, that's funny. There's a dance party. But one of the scripts that I used to have was like for YouTube. It would give you a download link below the video. I don't think that user script works anymore because a lot of stuff has changed since then. As you can see, a lot of these user scripts are from like 2014. Like this, the userscripts.org website, I think, went down, and then this is like a mirror of the site, but people share various scripts that they've written for various websites. Yeah. I visit a page, I save image links somehow. Yeah, absolutely. You could write code that extracts all the images from the page, sends that off to some API that you've built, or you could even write code that like tries to download the image, so it like prompts a download or something like that. So yeah. Okay. Let's talk about this proposal. So this is types as comments, which is a stage 0 proposal for ECMAScript. ECMAScript is the standard that defines the JavaScript language. And thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much for the support. Yeah, appreciate you. Thanks for the sub. Yeah, so the goal is to reserve a space for static type syntax inside the ECMAScript language. JavaScript engines would treat type syntax as comments. So before, obviously, you get a syntax error because this syntax is not supported in JavaScript. And then after, it just works, which makes sense. I don't know what the point of this is. Yeah, so this aims to simplify working in a modern JavaScript code base with types as comments. This is a simplification of the overall proposal. So today, a JavaScript engine knows that a slash and a star indicates the start of a multi-line comment. To the engine, this roughly means from this point in the code, keep reading characters and ignore them until you find a star with a slash right after it. For the simplest case, the same idea could be applied to an engine which implements types as comments. Okay. To the JavaScript runtime, the runtime code would look like this. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's basically what happens when you compile TypeScript code. It just strips away all of the TypeScript annotations and turns it into JavaScript. So if the JavaScript engine just did that for you, that's one less step that the TypeScript compiler has to take, if any. Like at that point, it's just supported in the browser, except for like really custom syntaxy things that don't actually exist in JavaScript. I don't know an example of any of them, but anything that's not a type annotation that isn't directly supported in JavaScript wouldn't work in this. Like generics. Generics, I don't think would work unless it's later on in the proposal. Generic types in TypeScript would still need to be transpiled in some way. Yeah, the major gotcha is that JSDoc might need revising so we can still provide proper documentation of properties and params. That's the thing, is JSDoc already exists, and like I've done this in the past on stream where I wasn't using TypeScript, but I was using JSDoc comments, and I was still able to get like type completion and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a thing. Who benefits from this? Less need for source code transformation, sure. New experimental type systems can be built using the ignored syntax space. Yeah. What type syntax is proposed? Type definitions on functions and variable declarations, importing, exporting types, class field and methods, generics, type assertions, list parameters, and more. Will JavaScript engines perform type checking? No. The goal is to let projects like TypeScript, Flow, and others provide the same type system that check the code for type errors. Okay. I'll have to watch the Fireship video, because I mean I don't think JSDoc is a hassle. Like obviously it's not, it's an extra syntax that you have to learn, but it's very standardized. Like JSDoc is everywhere, and there's no need for a web browser to support JSDoc because it's just a comment. So I don't know. Yeah, I think that's the other thing to think about though. So like if these basically just are comments, there needs to be an extra step in the JavaScript engine before it can execute the code. Like, well, not an extra step, but it's an added step to when it's like parsing the initial program. Now there's more stuff it needs to do to remove all of those type annotations so that it can actually run the code. It seems like a pretty big lift from the JavaScript engine perspective. I don't know. Will this grow JavaScript bundle size? Yeah, it absolutely would. It could. It will. Like you're writing more code, your bundle size is going to be bigger. How does this differ from JSDoc? Yeah. Python similarly implements support for opt-in type checking. However, this proposal has a stronger stance of relying solely on type erasure. I think it's too complex. Like when you start to think about like what it would actually take to implement this, and then like all of the JavaScript engines that would need to implement this to have like full support for it, I guess time will tell, because obviously this is a stage 0 proposal, so it's going to take a while before like it really has legs. But on the surface, I don't like it. Like I don't see. I think the potential issues outweigh the benefits. Like, if you're already using TypeScript, just keep using your TypeScript compiler. Like, what's wrong with that? That's my opinion on it. There. Is there support for this in the JS community? I have no idea. I mean, it seems like, so the thing is, TypeScript is very popular. Like, no matter where you look, most people that are writing JavaScript these days are big proponents of TypeScript. I would argue they're big proponents of TypeScript because they come from statically typed languages. So people that used to exclusively build like desktop apps or backend apps are now moving into the front end space because front end applications are applications, like they're complex and require a lot of code. And so a lot of that baggage was brought to the front end world. And now they just want to bring TypeScript to the front end. I don't know. Starting my first trainee position as a backend developer. Any tips for my trainee period? Nothing specific. Do your best. Ask lots of questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah, that's it. Do your best. How many people judge these proposals? So it's everyone that's on the TC39 committee. And the TC39 committee is made up of people from various companies and organizations. So if you look, I actually have no idea how to find all the people that are on the committee. There's a way. But basically, you can look at a list of all those people, and they all work at like the top companies that use JavaScript and would care if it changes. So Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook, Netflix, Adobe, and a lot of other big companies like that have people that work at their company that actually sit on this committee. And you can see like all of these proposals are from people that are on the committee. So the proposals need to be brought by, I believe they're brought by people on the committee themselves, or they have a, scratch that. They have a champion, and a champion is someone that's on the committee, whereas the author doesn't necessarily need to be on the committee. So the proposal that someone writes at least needs to have a little bit of buy-in from someone on the committee. So yeah. Couldn't a JavaScript engine simply ignore all tokens between the colon and equal of a variable, declaration, and setter? It's more complex than that. So you think about like object destructuring that's already in the language and has syntax that looks kind of like that, right? There's colons, there's curly braces and stuff like that, which is why like the moment I saw this example, like how does this affect runtime error messaging? For example, this syntax would be expected to error in TypeScript or Flow, but would be accepted by the JavaScript engine. When I saw this, it made me think really hard about like what would a like a language parser need to do to be able to get it right? And I don't know that much about the actual engine itself and how it executes the JavaScript code, but my initial inclination is that it's not going to be easy. And it's not just a simple like find and replace, like it's complex. It's complex. Yeah. I've not tried Node-RED. Yeah. I think it's hard to switch from Angular 2 to Vue 3. It's going to be very different. I think some of your stuff will transfer over fairly easily, but it is a very different framework. Say that. How does the browser know what inputs to fill with your login data? This is a great question to get me to accidentally expose all the data that's in my browser, but I actually have it turned off. But if you look in your browser settings under privacy and security, here it is. So the literal application itself is going to store logins and passwords on the file system. So if I had this checkbox checked, then somewhere on the file system, Firefox is actually storing those usernames and passwords. They're likely encrypted in some way, so they're not just like in a plain text file, but they're in there. And then when you go to a website and it has some input boxes on it, that Firefox code is running, and it's like, hey, that input box has a type of email. I'm going to suggest all the emails that you've ever typed before. So that's probably how it works. But that is a great way to get me to like dox myself. Which has actually happened in the past. So, I see TypeScript is less valuable the smaller the project. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good summation of my opinion on TypeScript as well. Like, the smaller it is, the less people that are contributing to it, the less need there is for something like TypeScript. LJ Harb is on TC39. Nice, nice. They've been mentoring you. That's cool. I do believe normal people can submit a proposal. It just needs a champion that is actually on the committee. Yeah. All right. Let's answer a few more questions, and then I gotta go because I do believe my lunch is here. So I'm gonna answer 2 more questions, and then I'm gonna go. All right. If you've asked a question and you're still here, type exclamation mark here. It'll bubble up to the top, and then we'll get on out of here. Yeah. So this one from Sound of Gaming. Have I heard of Google of Summer of Code? If so, what do I think of the program? It seems cool. I learned about it when I was a student in college, but I don't think, like, you have to apply way ahead of time. So it's like I believe it's kind of like internships. I don't think it's exactly internships, but basically, like, companies have open source projects and then they make those available to be worked on with possible mentorship opportunities, and then students can apply to work on those things. It's not necessarily all stuff at Google. It's like other companies that have things that are open source that people could work on. It seems cool. It seems like if you're looking for an internship of some kind, and you can get into this program, seems like a great way to get some experience. That's my opinion on it. Jukis has a scraping question. How can I run my Scrappy Spires to run once a day? Try to run them once every 90 seconds, but I keep getting error messages. I don't know what Scrappy is. I have no idea what that is. Yeah. A lot of them are universities or nonprofits. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. It's not just companies with open source stuff. It's anyone that has like an open source project or needs something worked on in open source, and Google facilitates all of it. Can you see my desk setup? It's really messy. And it's actually changed a lot since I think I did show it on stream, like back in December, but it's actually changed a bit. Soon. Ask me next time, and I might be ready to show you because it's messy. It's really messy right now. Yeah, I'll read this, but I don't know if I can answer it. This is how we get seated to clean his workspace. No, exactly. No, so I was and Jukiz, thank you very much for the 5 gifted. But I'll say last night I was watching Honeypot on YouTube. Now Honeypot is it's like entertaining developer videos. And they did a series where they're interviewing developers. So like there's ones with Cassidy. Cassidy's a streamer here on Twitch. There's one with Jay Langsdorf. Learn with Jason. Cassidy. Yep. Check her out there. Does anyone know how to spell Jay Langsdorf? Is that it? I didn't get it right. But they're streamers here on Twitch, but they've had a profile done on them on this channel. And the reason I'm mentioning all of this is because all these interviews just look so professional. Like they're sitting next to their desk and they've got like it's nice and clean, and they've got like plants or pictures on the wall and stuff like that. And it just looks, they're in a really nice environment. And I guess like obviously if they're like content creators, they have a space that looks good because that's where they create their content. But I don't. Like if I'm gonna turn off my my filters so you can see I'm sitting in a room with a big blue screen behind me. And I don't have a fancy desk with fancy monitors, and I don't have many decorations. Like if I were to be interviewed, it would be really awkward because it's just me and a blue sheet behind me. Yeah. No, it's a good point. Live coding, yeah, live coding is saying it looks like a bunch of dev relations people, and to be fair, it's their job to be good at that kind of stuff. Yeah, I just thought about, like, if I were to ever be interviewed, I don't know where I'd do it. Like, I could do it upstairs, maybe, like in my dining room, but that's not that appealing, and my walls are yellow, so it makes me look really weird. And then my backyard has a bunch of like weeds in it, so it wouldn't be nice to do it in the backyard. I don't know. All I'm saying is, I don't know what I'm saying. I like I enjoy I enjoy not having a fancy setup, and I can put whatever I want behind me. And actually, that's really funny because I could actually do a let's do this. I'm gonna find a really cool like office environment on Pexels. Yeah, and I can put a fake desk behind me. Cool office. Yeah, like this one. And so now when I'm like on this screen, I can just pretend that I'm in an office. Can I not put a Actually, you know what would be, I could create a browser overlay that just lets me set the image to whatever I want. That's what I'm gonna do. That angle, we'll find one with a good angle. Look at me and my nice house. we'll find a better one. Nailed it. Yeah. What if I just search for office? Yeah, like this. Hired. Thanks. I don't know. The fuzz. Yeah, I could do better with my lighting and my blue screen. Yeah. Oh, actually, we could do this. Search for hacker. Yeah. Look at all my employees. Hacker screens. Search for that. And Pablo, thank you for the 17 months. I just want a bunch of computer screens behind me. Yeah, like with something from The Matrix, exactly. Like Keanu Reeves. Computer screens. Multiple monitors. Yeah, like that. I got this super cool setup with like I literally I use my I mean, I don't know, it's not that funny, but I just use my laptop screen. I don't have what do you call it? I don't have a bunch of screens. I don't. Yeah, my office setup is very simple. There we go. Cool. You found one for me, Cypher? Didn't work. Looks like it's from Reddit. Stack of monitors. Impressive full room battle station. That's the one. That's the one. You know what we need to do? We need to start like a repo of all these like interesting images, and then I'll make it so chat can change the image that's behind me on the screen. That'd be fun. It actually reminds me of something that is cool and isn't lame like an image being behind me is Design Course on YouTube. I only saw one of his more recent videos recently. But if you look at his intro, when he's like standing, or yeah, like this. Look at this. I don't think he's in front of a blue screen. He literally has a room with like all these old monitors and stuff behind him. Like, this is really cool. I would never do that. It would take too much work. I don't think I have the space for it. But he's got like the static running on that computer back there. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna go now. I gotta eat lunch. This has been fun. I appreciate you all for hanging out, asking questions. And we'll see you next time. Well, thank you, Carly. Thanks for being here. Oh yeah, 8-Bit Guy is cool too. But his is less like cyberpunk looking. But yeah, these are all great content creators on YouTube if you haven't heard of him. But if you look at the 8-Bit Guy, he's got a little... well, that's his older videos. You can look at his newer videos. I guess he changed it up. He used to have a bunch of stuff behind him. I don't know. All right. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Yeah, I'll stream next Friday. The other thing is I've been thinking about what new thing I can say at the end of stream. And I don't have any good ideas, because if you're familiar with the Coding Garden, usually I say, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, and until next time, here's this. That's usually how I end the stream. I'm trying to think of something else to say. I have something that's somewhat dark, but I think I'm going to try it today. Toodaloo! All right, let's... I'm going to try it. If you hate it, let me know. If it makes you feel weird, let me know. Here we go. I don't need a catchphrase. I mean, the catchphrase I use when I'm starting stream is "Hello, friends." I mean, it's not really even much of a catchphrase, but it is what I say, and I say it all the time. I don't know. Just remember that everything's temporary and nothing matters. So I did say that nothing matters, but I want to clarify that you matter. Like, I didn't mean it like you don't matter. I meant it like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, like, what matter? I don't know, but you matter. I appreciate you. Have a great day.